Hey guys, Rory here from Your Golf Travel. Massive congrats to Jon Rahm. Personally, I feel like it was only a matter of time before he popped his major cherry. But what a way to do it. And also, how good did the South Course at Torrey Pines look, by the way? And catching a bit of the action last night, it got me thinking about US Open golf courses I have played. And I must admit, I'm a little bit disappointed with myself because I've only ever played one must do better. So in this video we're going to be talking about what it's like to play a US Open golf course, and firstly I'm aware that I'm wearing a backwards cap, apologies for that, but also as well as my thoughts on the course that I've played, we're going to get on the phone, we're going to talk to Dan Hendrickson, who's played a couple, and we're going to talk to a colleague of mine later in the video as well, who's actually played one of the most famous US Open golf courses in the world the day after the event. But like I said, before we get stuck into the video, I want to hear from you guys as well. I want to hear, have you guys played a US Open golf course? Obviously, you guys watching this video from the US will have a much better chance of having done so. So let me know in the comment section, jump down there, post a comment, which US Open golf courses have you guys played? And if you're a golfer from the UK watching, or from anywhere around the world, and you haven't played a US Open golf course to date, also jump in the comment section and let me know which US Open layout would be top of your bucket list if you were going to play a US Open golf course. So yeah, two things. Have you played one? If so, where? If not, which one would be top of your bucket list? Right, should we jump straight in and get on the phone to Dan the man, Dan Hendrickson, and get his thoughts on what it's like to play a US Open golf course? Right, Daniel Hendrickson, how's it going, mate? Long time no speak.
It has been a long time, Rory. Yeah, I'm very good, mate. I'm very good. Sorry, I'm a little croaky today. I've had
You've
Leicester
been on a night out, haven't you?
Well, yeah, you would say that, but and that's normally how I would sound about one of our night out. But no, I've Leicester's been on holiday this week, and I've been in the shop for 8 days, three or four straight days, and I've lost my voice from talking too much to people, to members. So I don't know what's happened. But
Fair enough.
So yeah, excuse the croakiness. All right.
Yeah. All right. So croakiness aside, US Open week in general, not just this year, what are your thoughts on the US Open as an event? Is it something that you look forward to every year? I know you're a big fan of obviously our Open and the Masters and whatnot. What do you think of the US Open?
Yeah, I think in a way, you know, the US Open should be, it should be certainly run alongside the Open, our Open, you know, it should run alongside because, you know, the American is the powerhouse of golf and has been for many, many years. Those two Opens should literally go side by side. But I think because the Masters has got, well, I mean, you've been, obviously I haven't had a go yet, but it's that level where, you know, some people almost, you know, they would prefer to win the Masters over the US Open, and that probably shouldn't be the case, but it's turned out that way over the years, I would say. The Masters has that kind of fairy tale about it. You know, I always call it a bit like it's a bit Disney.
Yeah,
you know, it's quite amazing when you go there and you experience it. But yeah, the US Open, I think it falls into almost like third in the pecking order as such, which 100% it shouldn't.
Yeah, well, I presume plenty of Americans would probably view the US Open in the same way that we view the Open or the British Open. And I guess the only thing that the US Open has going against it is that obviously the Masters is special because it goes back to that, like you say, that Disneyland every single year. It's the only major that goes to the same place every year. The Open is special, obviously not just the history, but the fact that it's links golf. That makes it a little bit different to other events, whereas the US Open, I think its selling point is the fact that it's probably the toughest event every single year. And the reason why sometimes I don't love it as much as maybe I should is that obviously the USGA have such a profound influence on whether or not the course is playable. Like they push it so close to the boundary sometimes, then sometimes the weather might shift and they've got it wrong and they lose the golf course, and all of a sudden you've got Mickelson running after a ball and hitting a moving putt, and you've had various instances like that in the past.
Yeah.
With, I think, Kirk Triplett and John Daly back in the day, they were stopping balls on the green. They were just fed up with, oh, this is just too stupid. Let's just get on with it and miss the cut and go home. But yeah, I mean, as well as all those funny incidences, obviously the USJ do get it right more often than not as well. So maybe that's why I don't love it as much as it should, because sometimes it can get a little bit too tough, I think.
Yeah. I would 100% agree with you. And it's only to you sort of mentioning those, I suppose, those experiences that we've been through watching these players, you know, just literally pick their ball up and move on.
Yeah.
They do. They have over the years pushed it to the point where the golf course, they kind of lose it. I think about, like, is it Chambers Bay?
Bay, yeah.
Chambers Bay, where I mean, it was such a shame, because it's an amazing golf course, but you watch it when we watched it on TV, and it was almost, you know, they were trying to hit through windmills at one stage, weren't they? You know,
I mean, that was difficult. I was going to mention Chambers Bay. It's such a shame, because that course now actually has a bad reputation, but actually on a normal day when your average Joe Blogs golfer will turn up and the USJ haven't gone mad with it, it's going to be perfectly playable and it'll be a special experience. Yeah. But unfortunately, obviously, most of our only exposure to that course is when it was a bit mad, and the USGA just got that one slightly wrong. But so yeah, I mean, obviously an amazing event, and this video that I've been talking to my audience about what it's like to play a US Open golf course. I actually don't have a huge amount of experience. I've only played Pinehurst, and you could argue that Pinehurst, the way it is now, with the waste areas and whatnot, there's not a lot of rough there. It's actually quite unusual in comparison with most US Open layouts, where you kind of typically associate that event with super thick, choppy, rough, and really narrow fairways and stuff like that. And you've obviously played a couple of US Open courses that I haven't played. So you've played, if I'm right, you played Pebble and you've played Bethpage. Is that right?
Yeah, so we were lucky enough a couple of years ago to go. I went with Mark. We went out, part of a FootJoy trip that we went on, where we went out to Pebble Beach, and then to the beginning of the week we started at Pebble, and then we finished off at Bethpage. And what's interesting about that is that they were setting Pebble up. They were just putting the stands up at the time to hold the US Open there.
So that would have been 2019.
Correct, yeah. And we were so the golf course, don't get me wrong, it was nowhere near the spec of what they were going to get it to.
Yeah.
But we had a flavour of it. You know, there were patches of the golf course which you could see that they were growing up. The greens weren't obviously at the speed of what they were going to put them to, but you could see the way in which they were going to shape that golf course up to be to set it up for the US Open. I mean, then you move up over to Bethpage, and I mean, even to this day, I still have nightmares when I'm going around the golf course. Like, I mean, it was extreme. So what I mean by that is, like, we were the last round of golf, or the last day, where they were letting people out before the PGA Championships there. And oh my goodness, I mean, it was a windy day. I've never played a golf course that long. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say it was overly tight, but if you got it wrong and you got it into the rough, it was like pick your ball up. Yep. It was properly tall grass, and the greens, and this is where I really struggled. The greens were so fast that it was literally like putting on a marble surface on your kitchen countertop. You know, so it was extreme levels, but fantastic and an amazing experience. I mean, for me to try and shoot and break 80 was that was a goal, really.
Yeah. So did you feel more comfortable in terms of scoring at Pebble than you did at Bethpage?
Pebble all day.
Yeah. So I get the impression that Pebble, if the USGA are going to do what they're going to do for the US Open, they can make it really difficult. Whereas I get the impression that Bethpage is just inherently difficult. It doesn't matter what condition the course is going to be in. You could cut the rough down and slow the greens down. It would still be a difficult golf course. Whereas Pebble is in my mind, I haven't played either of them, is a bit more playable, and they're going to have to grow the rough up and stuff like that to defend it against these guys during the US Open.
I would 100% agree with that. I mean, you even step on the first tee at Bethpage and there is a warning sign. Like, I've never seen that anywhere on a golf course. And I mean, they probably look at it as a bit of a joke, but actually, no. Do you know what? That is the reality. If you go there and you're not to a certain level of golf, you're going to get absolutely battered. Like you are going to have a very upset day. But whereas Pebble was just beautiful. I mean, it's still to this day, it's, you know, some say that it's not necessarily the best golf course in the world, but just being there, experiencing it, playing it is just, it's firm but fair. Like it's a fair golf course. It can allow you to score. They can toughen it up and make it punishing, you know.
Yeah, well, obviously the scenery and the location is a massive selling point for Pebble, but when you say it's not the best golf course, obviously we need to put that into context. I think TV viewers and people like me who's not been there, I think very familiar with a handful of holes down by the cliffs and down by the water. So totally familiar with like one. Then you get to, is it the par 5, 6th? And then little short,
sort of double dog leg around the corner.
Yeah, so I'm very familiar with 1, and then 6, 7, 8, and then like 18. Obviously, everyone knows that hole.
Yeah,
and maybe part of that, it's not the best golf course, is that it's hard to live up to that little pocket of holes when you start moving a bit further inland. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think it is. But but for me personally, I loved it. You know, if you said to me, "Where do you want to go and play today, Dan?" I'd say 100%. Let's go there.
Yeah.
Because what I meant by that comment, I suppose, was that that's the feedback that I got from people who have actually been and played it. But actually, do you know what? The holes that come more inland slightly, they're properly challenging holes, and they ask a lot of questions of you. But they are, you know, again, we played it probably, I think, a month or so before the actual Open was being played there. But you could see that they were just bringing in pinch points in certain pockets of the golf course where they were just asking lots of questions, certainly off the tee, more so than anything else. But yeah, it's amazing experience.
Interesting. So I'll let you get back to the shop because I know you've got a busy day or busy afternoon lined up. But just before we go, having done Pebble and Bethpage, do you have a US Open golf course that you haven't yet played? Which one would be top of your US Open bucket list if you were going to be able to go out and play a US Open golf course next week, let's say?
I think Merion.
Yeah, that was where Justin Rose won, wasn't it?
It's where Justin Rose won, and I think there's a bit of almost like a sentimental value with the fact that Justin Rose won there. But also, I think it's where Ben Hogan played that. You know, they've got their plaque in the fairway there where he played that shot on 18. Yeah. And Justin Rose's ball wasn't too far away from where his drive was.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite unique in the flags, the way the flags,
the little baskets,
domes, little dome baskets. And I think so. I think out of all of them, if you said to me which one would you, Dan, where do you want to go and play? I think it would be there for that reason. You know.
Cool. All right, mate. Good to catch up with you. Thank you very much for your insight on what it's like to. Obviously, you've been closer to playing a US Open course than me, because when I played Pinehurst, it was just in. It's still extremely difficult, but it certainly wasn't anywhere leading up to a US Open, that sort of thing. So, yeah, interesting to hear your thoughts. And you never know. One day we might get a game at Merion. Who knows?
Who knows, mate? Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right.
All right, mate. Have a good afternoon.
All right.
Catch you soon.
Take care of yourself. All right. Bye, mate.
Bye. So interesting to hear from Dan there on what it was like to play Pebble Beach in the build-up to the US Open, and also Bethpage Black, notoriously one of the hardest courses in the world in the build-up to the PGA Championship in 2019. As I said earlier in the video, I've only played one US Open golf course, and while I'm a little bit disappointed with that tally, I certainly can't complain too much because it was a goodie. Pinehurst Number Two. Tough as nails, and actually the kind of course setup you wouldn't usually associate with the US Open, where we've kind of come to expect crazy narrow fairways lined by thick, lush, heavy rough, which always seems to be the main talking point across social media whenever that event rolls around. Now, Pinehurst has actually fit this kind of model in years gone by. The 1999 and the 2005 US Open, for example, if you look back at footage from those days, the course was lined by thick, lush, heavy rough. That's not the vision Donald Ross had for the course when he originally laid it down. And by the time the 2014 US Open rolled around, the one that Martin Keimer won by about 8 shots, the course had been restored to what it was originally meant to be, with these amazing waste areas that line the fairways. You'll find little clumps of grass in there, but for the main part you're just looking at kind of hard pan sand, a few pine needles here and there. Certainly a kind of look and feel far removed from what we typically associate US Open golf courses with. Of course, if you go wide enough at Pinehurst as well, you've got these towering pine trees, hence the name Pinehurst. And if you get into those, they can be quite dense, so you're kind of looking at chipping out sideways most of the time, unless of course your name is Coach Lockie.
Oh, you just go at the flag, don't you? You just go straight at the flag and try and run it through everything. Don't you?
No, because there's a low branch there, there's nothing there.
Okay, yeah, so you're going through the bigger gap and then going to try and up and down and stuff. Yeah, that's the shot, look at that.
Get on the green!
Get up, go in.
Oh my god, go in. What a shot! That is the best shot you're ever going to see.
That is so good.
That is unbelievable.
Cut that through that gap.
Biggest challenge at Pinehurst though, and this is something I found, it's something that Mark found and Lockie found, was the greens. All of them are kind of like old school upturned saucer kind of shaped greens, big runoffs, firm as well. So even if a green was, let's say, the size of a tennis court, just for an example, depending on where they put the pin on the day, that green, in terms of the landing area you have to land even wedge shot, whatever you're hitting into the green, suddenly becomes like the size of a ping pong table. And like I said, they are firm, so you don't get a huge amount of stop, and if you don't get it right, you're hitting those runoff areas, and all of a sudden the chip shots you're faced with, either coming back to your feet, or if you hit it too hard and it's rolling off into another runoff area, it can be very, very challenging indeed to putt if you're putting from distance, or to get up and down if you are hitting those runoff areas. So definitely, in my mind, the biggest challenge for Pinehurst. Bearing in mind it's really difficult to lose a golf ball off the tee, and you can advance your ball from those waste areas unless you get unlucky. It's certainly on and around those devilish greens.
Look at that green. Just drop that ball. Oh, you haven't got a ball, have you?
No, but I mean, the green starts here.
Yeah.
That's not green.
No.
And it ends about here.
You got 2 yards.
Pin eye is off.
Yeah.
So walking up, it's a tiny little plateau green, because look what's over the back. You are gone.
Look how fast it goes away from you.
I know,
Well.
I know. But I'm still worried about mine.
I've got to put it here to get close.
Yeah.
And that's like a foot from there.
Yeah. Pin high is a yard back from pin high. You're off the back. How are you feeling, Coach?
I don't know where this is going to end up.
It's going this way at the end.
No, I mean after I've hit it, like...
Yeah, I reckon you're here.
It could be over there, I don't know.
I reckon you're in this collection bit here. Oh my God.
Get left.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Oh, this is tough. Oh, if that's like a foot further, that's pretty good, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is, yeah. Right, Matt, you got any plans to make the hole stop this ball? Please stop the ball hole.
Please just stop it.
It's low, is it? That's in. Great putt. That is so good. That's a birdie. Yeah.
Of course, we're talking about playing US Open golf courses that have hosted the US Open, and while we're not under any illusions as to the course we played, it was obviously a lot easier in terms of the setup than the course they would have played at the US Open. You also have to factor in how far back those guys were playing from, because we played from the back tees, but also they had another set of tees which would have been in play at the US Open. And when you factor in the added length on some of those holes, which were already pretty beefy in places, wow.
Coming into one of the toughest courses you can play, and not playing well is never a good sign.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it is.
Look at, like, I can nearly see the bottom of the hole.
I know.
So steep.
This is wicked. They were playing this at, what was it, 512 from the back tee, or was it 570?
507, innit?
507.
529.
Yeah, 529 from the backs they were playing this, US Open.
Yeah.
I'd presume it's always downwind like we're getting it. But I mean...
I'm guessing their greens were a lot firmer and quicker when they played as well. Not a lot, but...
I wonder what, you'd struggle to get these quicker, otherwise that ain't gonna stop. Like you can't have slopey greens too fast. He is going sideways. It's a great putt.
Pick it up.
Great putt, Matt. Good fall.
Is it me? Where are you?
I'm
He's
5.
done.
Oh, you're done.
He was head off in.
Speed putting, mate. You didn't see my first putt. It barely qualified as a golf shot.
With that in mind, with course setup in mind, obviously you have to bear in mind that the USGA have such a profound effect on the course setup leading up to US Open. So the courses that we're talking about in this video, courses that you guys can play, courses that I've played and the guys I'll be speaking to have played as well, they're not going to be anywhere near as difficult as you might see on TV. Speaking of playing a US Open golf course in US Open conditions though, what is it actually like? Some of you will remember a colleague of mine from the Florida tour on Mark Russell's channel in 2018. Gareth, aka Mr. Llewellyn, aka Florida Putting God, was actually lucky enough to play Pebble Beach. I think it was the day after Gary Woodland won there in 2019 at the US Open. So let's get Gareth on the phone and see what he thought about playing this world-class iconic golf course. Everyone wants to play Pebble Beach, but with the added element of playing it in US Open conditions. Mr. Llewellyn, welcome back to YouTube land. How are you, sir?
Oh, it's been a while, hasn't it? It was about, I was trying to think how long ago it was. It was like November 2018.
2018, when you became the Florida putting god.
Yeah, on Swamp backside. Yeah.
I actually forgot about that. Maybe just for the audience, I'll flash a little clip off of that right now.
Always in the lost world, isn't it? Oh, it's wet.
No, please do. I wasn't fast enough at the time. So,
but yeah, no, today's video, we're talking about what it's like to play a US Open golf course. I've played Pinehurst Number Two, but certainly not in anywhere near the kind of condition it would have been in for the US Open. But you have had a very special experience, haven't you? You got to play Pebble Beach 2019 US Open. You played the Monday after the event, is that right?
not quite. It was the Tuesday. Yeah, tried to get on the Monday, but couldn't. But yeah, it was difficult.
Which tees did you play it off?
I'm pretty sure I attempted most of the black tees, the championship tees.
Yeah.
I think there's maybe one or two holes I thought, oh no, I just can't. I think maybe 17 I didn't get off the blacks because that was 17's a par 3 going back towards sort of the clubhouse, and that was well, actually no, you play sort of towards the ocean, and the wind always comes in off the ocean. And by the time I got there, it was really windy, and I thought, I'm not hitting a driver on a par 3. I think I hit a 4-iron short, and then managed to chip and putt, which is quite nice.
Yes, I mean we'll get onto what the course was like in terms of the rough and the speed of the greens and stuff like that. But first and foremost, what was it like? I presume that was your first round at Pebble Beach. What was it like to finally set foot on that golf course and have 18 holes?
Yeah, I mean it was epic. It's the first time I've been there, so I mean it was a pretty cool trip in all fairness anyway, because we had I think 30 customers who flew out on the Thursday before. So I flew out, Thursday of US Open week. So I was out there Wednesday to sort of make sure I was there in time and meet and greet them when they landed, touchdown. And then we had basically a whole weekend with the customers. Played golf Thursday at Pasatiempo up in Santa Cruz. Went to the Open Friday, played golf Saturday, and then we went to the US Open Sunday again. And then on Monday, we all checked out and went to Pebble Beach, checked into Pebble Beach, into the inn at Spanish Bay, which was, I mean, that's maybe their second-rate hotel, but it was phenomenal. Class experience. Played the links at Spanish Bay Monday, and then set foot on the links on Tuesday. But yeah, I just felt really nervous because, and I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy it because of that, but it definitely affected my game because I was just in awe of the place. It's a bit like when you go to St Andrews and you're like the home of golf. And Pebble Beach almost feels like the St Andrews of the US.
Yeah, the US equivalent. Yeah,
really, but it was, it was sort of pinch yourself sort of moments all the time.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm obviously. I usually have bragging rights in the Your Golf Travel office, but when you came back from that trip, it was a bit like, oh yeah, no, he's got one on me there. Played Pebble Beach, a couple of days after the US Open. So, I mean, what was the course like? Obviously, I'm guessing the rough would have been pretty brutal. I'm guessing the greens were probably firm and quick. And I mean, you got a small taste of what those guys go through for 4 days at the US Open. So what was that like in comparison with playing, let's say, a championship course just in normal condition?
Well, the course was exactly how it was set up for the US Open. I think they maybe let the greens grow a touch, but I spoke to the caddy, basically said they had cut them in the morning we played. So there were still like 10 or so on the stim. I think it's about 10. So I've got a feeling because it's so windy, they didn't cut them as short as they would normally. But it was in pristine condition, and it is literally fairway or rough. And if you're in the rough, your ball's out of sight. You can't see it. You have to walk over it to see it. I was playing with a couple of customers who are sort of high handicappers, and just getting that rough was an achievement. Like, when you saw Brooks and all the strong boys, just they're playing out of the rough to still get it on the green, whereas us mere mortals were just, happy to get it out of the rough, to be honest. It's so thick and long and dense, you cannot get the ball out. And then they grow all that around the green as well, so there's no sort of fringe really. It's just rough and then green. So trying to play like a finesse shot, you know what my chipping's like. Trying to play a finesse shot the way they make it look so easy on TV. The caddy basically said that like 18 is a good example. If you look up the fairway, bunkers are inside the rough, so it just shows they grow the rough. Right. So they narrow the fairways. Yeah. And then when it's in normal resort conditions, the bunkers are on the fairway, so the fairway's wider. And
yes, I mean, that's the point I made earlier in this video, is that obviously we're talking about playing US Open venues, but the USGA have such a big effect on how tough the course is going to play during that event. It's not what your average punter is going to find when they get to these places. So there's certainly no reason to, run away and be scared of playing these types of places, because they're not going to be as brutally tough as they would be during the Open on a standard day, would they?
No, absolutely not. I mean, what my golf like, I don't play enough to play to a decent level of handicap anymore, but I think I didn't break 90. I was going down 18, had to par 18. Sorry, it's my phone. I had to par 18 to break 90, and I bogeyed it. So I was quite happy with 90, to be honest.
I would be absolutely thrilled with breaking 100, to be honest with you. So you've played a decent amount of golf in the States, and you haven't played any of the US Open courses. But what would you say is the toughest course you've played, irrespective of course conditions? And would Pebble, in the shape it was in when you played it on that day, be more challenging? Or, I mean, you played the ocean course at Kiowa, right? So
yeah, but I was a bit like you. I played it in like absolute still. It was beautiful sunshine.
I'm beginning to think the wind there is just a bit of a myth. Like,
I think Pebble was harder the way it was set up. I'd love to go back and play it under resort conditions, and I think that would easily take off a shot a hole round. Of course, well, not a shot a hole, but a shot every other hole maybe around there. Where you normally have a decent chance of a chip. Whereas in the rough, they put on the green, you haven't really got a chance.
All right, mate. I can hear your phone ringing. Obviously, you're working right now, so I'll let you get back to it. But thank you very much for giving us some insight into what it's like playing a US Open, an actual US Open setup course, rather than just what it might be like on a normal day. But before I let you go, I'll just ask you a very cliche but interesting question. Favorite hole at Pebble Beach? Which one stood out in your mind as your favorite? Tough ask, isn't it? Because there's 5 or 6 that might get the nod.
Yeah, there is a handful. Well, do you know what? I'm going to have to say 18. Just that view down 18 with the ocean to the left and trouble to the right, and it's just so iconic, isn't it? That hole.
How far right did you blast it with your driver off the tee?
Not too bad. I was behind the tree, and then I had to chip out, and then have 7-iron in or something. But do you know what? now I've thought about it, 7 was actually pretty epic.
And 8 looks pretty nice, and 6 is a good par 5. And
6 is really tough, because I don't realise all the big boys just hit like a long iron down there or a rescue, and then another one up to the top. Whereas I was like, trying to hit a driver as hard as I could to get as near to the end as I could, and then thinned it into the cliff.
Oh, a man after my own heart. I'm proud of you. All right, mate. Thanks very much. Like I said, I'll let you get back to work, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Maybe on a golf course. You never know.
Thanks, mate. Oh, don't forget to plug our packages next year.
Exactly that. So actually, yeah, you touched on it earlier. I think obviously lots of people know that we do the Masters and the Open and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, why not head out to the US Open? Because there's lots of incredible golf courses that surround the venues where these places are. So play a bit of golf yourself and go and watch golf's toughest test.
Well, next year's East Coast Brookline Country Club, Boston. So, it's not as far. It's a short flight by comparison to the West Coast. And it's actually really, really good value for money compared to, not that the Masters isn't, but the Masters is just a different level, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can probably get 3 days at the tournament, flights, 4 or 5 nights accommodation for just over a couple of grand. Compare that to the Masters, it's a real good alternative.
Yeah, and I suppose with the location next year as well, if you fancy combining that with a bit of a city break as well, you can get a nice mixture of golf and then head into town.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you're on that East Coast, you can drop down to the Carolinas or even down to Florida and home from there. There's lots of options. Excellent.
All right, mate. Well, I will try and get these guys watching this video to email you as much as possible, so your inbox is going to be flooded with emails in the coming days. But yeah, thanks again for sharing your insight into Pebble, and like I said, hopefully I will see you soon.
You're welcome. Cheers, Rory.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Thank you.
So there we go, guys. Really interesting to hear from Gareth there about what it was like to play Pebble Beach 2 days, after the US Open. I thought it was the day after, but he actually played it on the Tuesday, but it was still very much set up in US Open conditions to give the guys who were there at the event, whether it be media or people like Gareth who are hosting people, a chance to see what the course was really like for the guys at the US Open. So yeah, like I said at the start of the video, jump into the comment section, join the conversation. Let me know if you've played a US Open golf course. Which one was it? What was it like to play there? And if you haven't played one already, let me know which one would be top of your US Open bucket list. As Gareth alluded to in his little chat as well, something that Your Golf Travel do is we bring clients out to attend the US Open and play a bit of golf while you're out in the States as well. So that's something you're interested in. Definitely pop some questions if you have any in the comment section below. Email me at raymondo@yourgolftravel.com. Contact the guys at the call centre if you don't want to speak to me. I won't take it personally. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video about the US Open. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to the Your Golf Travel channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys soon in another video.